So here in the state of Maine, we have this city called Portland that I think lives on another planet most of the time. It's like all the cities of the great USA named Portland all got together and said, you know what? Let's all have the same insane policies and try and push it on everyone else. If I had known this was going to be as interesting educational tool for body language, I probably would have recorded this whole thing. But I didn't. This comes to you from a very wonderful news station called The Maine Wire. I'm seeing a little bit of a schism, so to speak, amongst the council members here. And just a little bit of background. Mainers are seeing what's going on, and Americans have a non-European way of protesting. And one of the things that we like to do, which is starting to happen a lot here in Maine, is we go to our town councils and we start standing up and we start speaking our mind and we start showing up with, the looks on our face that says we're not happy. Well, of Maine seeing that. And of course, a lot of the council members that are like quite a few of these women on here are complaining. And then they're also affecting this mayor here as well. Now, I kind of feel bad for the mayor. I don't know if I'd agree with him on everything, but I can see the conflict, as you will see, that is happening. Because one of the things you have to understand in this social dynamic is that these people intimately work together. So if no one ever shows up to the town meetings or they never see any of their constituents, their worldview is only of the people that they interact with. So they tend to have the social peer pressure of each other and of the alpha of that particular group. But once the public starts showing up to town meetings or seeing their representatives on the street, their worldview is forced to expand, which I think is what's happening to Mr. Mayor Dion. He's now getting the peer pressure of the masses outside. The high school dynamics have changed. So as you watch this, you'll see what I mean.
I feel like there's a lot of opposition outside of Portland to Portland getting assistance for doing the work of all the people that are.
Mr. Dion, his facial expressions just... So you see the slightness of the face going kind of down, the furrow coming slowly in as she speaks. This woman doesn't quite understand why she's getting pushback. And why his face is doing that is because he's actually thinking, how are you not in the same social dynamic that's coming at me? The planet is a lot bigger than the 5 in this room, and it's kind of blowing his mind. Now, the other 3 are obviously not reacting the way he is. There's not that the face slowly comes down, the furrow goes in, the mouth is agape, like, I don't understand how you don't get it. None of that's happening.
Are opposing us. And I would love to understand the power analysis around that and which particular districts and which votes we need to sway in order to convince people that we need what we need.
It is.
So it cuts there in order to convince people, and he gets away from the camera. We don't know the follow through with that, but because the face is already falling, we're going to assume it's kind of like the exasperation of what the actual.
It's just a narrative that we have fought for 25 years about Portland's role in Maine's economy.
And now you listen to this one, and the same facial expressions on the 3 women are kind of still there. So the Dingleberry is now going to express that this is a battle that they've been fighting. Instead of the constituents, instead of people that she's supposed to be representing, it's conflict in her mind. And you've got our mayor over here who's pretty much staying silent, face down, furrow in the brow is still there. And the other gentleman over here, he seems to be very relaxed through it. He's got his mouth covered, but it looks like it's more of like he's resting because there's a whole lot of other looseness in the shoulders that says that this kind of conversation is not bothering him.
And Portland's role in the state, that is very, it's always been extraordinarily challenging. People see us as different and as taking.
And you see the mayor going back. And he comes forward and he goes back and the furrow is still there. He's really in a whole lot of mental conflict because, again, his worldview encompasses the peoples he's representing. He's getting pushback, which if you never push back on any of these people and say, hey, you will get like you get with these other 4 instead of like the mayor, who apparently is getting pushback. Maybe he likes to go out to eat and they all know where he's at. But like, I know where the mayor goes out to eat. Let's all show up there. And of course, they're probably not confrontational. They're like, hey, well, what's going on with this? As most normal people would react to things. Showing up at town halls. I don't agree to this. How come our homeless are all homeless, yet we're putting up so much money for all these illegals? And because of that, we're seeing what we're seeing.
An undue amount of resources away from other people.
They just see us as a city state, and they're very unwilling to spend their money on any issue that they feel is for a problem we created.
So you see him give that they feel for a problem we created, and he's very politically correct on it.
They just see us as a city state, and they're very unwilling to spend their money on any issue.
And he's very tight in that. He's brought his head semi up, but he's not lifted. He's not going, oh, I've got the answer for you. There's no exuberance in that. When you've got like a solution to the problem, as these women are pointing out to everyone, we're in conflict. They won't give us money. Be like, oh, I've got the answer. They look at us like a city state. There's no anger from his side. There's no, I've got a solution for that side. It's this, I'm telling you some facts and I'm making myself small. Please don't beat me. But there's a bigger pressure on the other side of me, not happy. So here is another part of it when they're talking about gun control. In the state of Maine, that's like trying to disarm a military in the midst of a battle. Like hunting are people's bread and butter here. It is a different place in Maine. People shoot to kill and they eat it. The grocery store is literally outside my house. And Mainers feel that way. In all honesty, I kind of like it. It's a lot better in Tennessee, where every few miles you're hitting a deer. You ain't hitting deer here.
One of the things that I think about a lot in Maine is that Portland is different than, rural areas. And the fact that we can't regulate guns in Portland because...
Now, as you can see, our mayor over here, he's now squished himself to the side. The same Firo is there as she continues on. And again, this is all cut up, so we don't know how this molds into other areas of this meeting. I'm sitting there going, holy cow, he's not comfortable at all. You'd think they'd be talking for a little while. He'd like, oh yeah, I'll go meet with Kate, Daniel, and Chris. Be like, oh, everything will be great. I deal with them all the time. Just relax. But no, not Mr. Dion. He's a little stressed.
Because of the moratorium or the whatever it is, the fact that the state wants to do that entirely for the whole state is, I think it's difficult.
I'll kind of let that play. I wanted to see if it was going to do anything else, but he brings up his hand, covers his mouth. He's recentered himself and he's covering it. He's like, oh, how do I hide? And he's not loose like our other guy over here. When he was covering his mouth, he was just literally resting his hand on his face. Mr. Dion, he's stressed. He's trying to control himself. Like, how do I come at this situation in a politically correct way that the Rainbow Mafia is not going to neuter him and force him into transitioning?
And I wonder if there's any move to try.
We're sitting there, we're comforting ourselves, we're stroking our upper lip. He's really trying to figure this out. And that's where the brain is working the response. How do I say this? How do I spit some facts without being neutered?
Try to allow Portland to have its own authority around that stuff. We don't need guns in cities.
That kind of consideration is exactly what creates the chasm between us and rural Maine. It sets us apart on what they see as a principal issue of their sense of gun safety or gun ownership. So
seems like it would set them free.
No, it sets us apart and in a contradictory position with them. So it just reinforces their idea. Go ahead and do it, Portland. Have a great day. Don't ask me for anything.
So the Rainbow Mafia, the brown-haired one, is over there just twirling around, eyes rolling, hand on the head. She really don't want to listen to what Mr. Dion has to say, even though he's tried to make it as politically correct as possible. The other Rainbow Mafia, with the gray hair, takes what he says in, but kind of laughs it off as a pushback towards him. They're like, oh, it's okay. I know you're trying to spit facts, but I think it'll be better. It's this whole tippy-toe eggshells kind of conversation, which is annoying.
If you like it, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
If you'd like to learn more about analysing body language, there is a video course available on Mandy's website for Gold subscribers.